It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes. So let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
And my name is Mike.
And this week, we're traveling back to 1997 with the X-Men, Mike.
Oh my gosh, the whiplash, the muscles in my neck can't stand it. I'm dying.
I went looking for my juice boxes and my Teddy Grahams, and I couldn't find them because I needed them to watch.
They're building a Toys R Us down the street. What decade am I in?
Man, I tell you what, the everything else that's kind of on here this week is a little bit with that as well, but we'll talk about that because we have trailers to talk about. We have Star Wars: The Acolyte, we have Rebel Moon 2, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga movie, Alien Romulus, Beetlejuice, or Beetlejuice 2 as we'll probably call it, and more.
I'm so glad you clarified that Furiosa title, because I wouldn't have known it was in the Mad Max universe, and it's a saga. Yes. On top of that, so I'm glad the marketing department, who I'm sure knows better than anybody else over there, appended that onto the movie.
My guess is the test audiences were like, "What are we watching? What is this?" And I'm like, "Can you not tell from the sand and the cars and the chrome that is Mad Max? Because it looks just like. I mean, this is not a complaint. If you take Mad Max Fury Road and put it beside Furiosa, they look identical, and they're supposed to be. They're part of the same little set piece, but I'm like, they look exactly the same, if you would.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll talk about it more in depth, but since it's in the front of my head, the sound design for Fury Road and Furiosa, it gets into my soul. Like, I'm not like a muscle car person. Like, I'm very much looking forward to going electric on my vehicles in the future and just being a silent passenger as I go down the road. But like the growl that George Miller gets out of the surround sound in the movie theater is just like,
it encompasses that original 80s Mad Max like vibe, right? So like I know it's they're all Mad Max, but this one's modern, it's update, you feel it. I mean, the guy, we thought he went soft. We thought George Miller went soft when he did Babe and Babe 2. But here he is, back again with the cars. Because I'm the same way. I already have a hybrid vehicle. My lawnmower, I mowed my lawn today. It's electric. You don't hear it. Like my AirPods are louder than it is. So I agree. The sound design is fantastic because we just listen.
We yearn for the sound, not for the fumes.
Exactly. We like the fake sound, but absolutely for sure.
But no, I was saying just earlier. There's a down the road from us, there was, rest in peace, a Kmart in a plaza that's right next to a Chuck E. Cheese as well. It's like a 90 Central over there, or
and
it was.
It didn't become a Spirit Halloween.
No, surprisingly, it didn't. And this LA, the Valley, Spirit Halloweens will go in anywhere. Yeah. Like I know the infection of Spirit Halloween spreads across the entire country, but if the infection is most prominent, I don't know, towards the brainstem, this is the brainstem.
Well,
out here,
that's what I was gonna say. If I could take a store and apply it to The Last of Us, the cordyceps stuff, Spirit Halloween is cordyceps for dead stores, and I really would have thought it would have been Spirit Halloween, but continue with your because it sounds like another dead store somehow took place.
Yeah. Because if you pop in the Nextdoor app, the local subreddits, local hashtags, people are like, what is this Kmart going to be already? It's been empty for years. And then there was some activity, just the other week, where they started putting some almost window clings up or something. It's like, okay, something's happening here. And then if you follow along the progress, you start to see a vintage Toys R Us starting to form out of nowhere. It made me think of that South Park episode where Cartman is willing these Shakey's pizzas into existence.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, this is coming out of nowhere. But then just before you think it's about to be a real Toys R Us, that's when you start to see the Star Wagons and the cranes and the jibs and stuff for the cameras. And it's like, oh, okay, this is for shooting. And Surprisingly, you knew what was going on there, and you're 2,000 miles
It's
away.
funny.
So what's filming down the street from me, Chris?
I am so far away, and we hadn't talked about this until today, and it already crossed my feed this morning. But it is the Michael Jackson biopic is filming there, because he used to go into Toys R Us and drop a fucking bank on toys in Toys R Us. Again, I'm not gonna get into the politics of Michael Jackson, but like, that's, if I had that kind of money, I'd do the same thing at 38 years old, 37 years old, right? Like I'd go spend a lot of money at Toys R Us today. But that's what they're filming. There's the Michael Jackson biopic, which is, I think, it's kind of been going for a couple weeks now. So sounds like
I was gonna say, Chris, you're already pretty close to going to a Toys R Us and a dropping bank. It feels like.
Yeah.
You told me you just picked up a laser disc recently, which I thought was pretty funny.
Well, I mean, we talked about my birthday last weekend, and my wife got me the Halo Xbox, and to treat myself, I just happened to be on Facebook Marketplace, and someone was selling the laser disc player, a good model that worked. And it was porch pickup, so I didn't have to deal with anybody like directly, and that's like my favorite thing. Like when I don't have to like talk to anybody, just put the money in the mailbox and walk away. I picked up a Laserdisc player, and it came with a bunch of movies. But the three movies it came with, other than these other weird ones, were Blade Runner, the director's cut, which I thought that's a great grab offhand, right? Escape from New York, which I haven't seen in years. Kurt Russell movie. I'd love to watch that. And then also Showgirls, which we watched in my bad films class in college, Mike. So any chance I get to revisit that thing, I would love to take the opportunity to win this Laserdisc player. And it came with a remote. That's the big thing. Most of these things, we've talked about the Winnie the Pooh and the Mickey Mouse TVs, Mike. But like, a lot of them just don't come with the remotes or like the backs of the remotes. This had the whole remote with it, and I was very impressed with that. So
nice.
It's even got like a little knob you turn for the jogging. You remember when jogging was the thing instead of fast forward? Like you would turn it, like the faster you held the knob, or the more you held the knob, the faster it would go, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that does kind of sound. I didn't know it had a name to it. I didn't know there was a technical term of jogging.
In video editing, that's what you would do. Like on the like the switchboards, you would quote unquote jog forward if you would, or jog backwards, based on how hard you turn that knob. So it's got a little jog thing on the thing. With that, and Mike, I explained to you, and most people may not know this, with laser discs, they're not like CDs. They're actually double-sided and for a lot of the movies, because they don't hold, they were huge, they're record sizes, but they don't hold as much data as a modern DVD Blu-ray does. So you have to like turn it over halfway through the movie for some of them.
Yeah, which is hilarious to me. Like the laser disc to me is the epitome of kind of what a lot of late 80s and early 90s kind of thought the future was going to be. Like I'm imagining watching, like, I don't think this literally happened in Total Recall, the original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that's the type of thing you would see like in a Total Recall movie. Like you're in the theater, this is like the 80s, you're watching Total Recall's like version of the future, and it's just like, whoa, they don't have VHSs anymore. Oh, it's like a disc, like
you don't
the
have
size
to
of like a record.
Oh my
this
gosh,
is crazy.
Yeah.
But you still have to flip it over. It's like it's like almost the future, but like not really. So, but it is nice. As like we talk about it all the time on the show, as like we're getting older, we're starting to just feel more comfort from these older pieces of technology. Which when we were kids, like the second I learned about like CDs and DVDs, I was like, let's burn and melt all of these VHSs. They're all garbage. Get rid of them. Let the past die. Kill it. But now I'm like, but the VHSs were kind of fun. Maybe we should bring them back.
It's something about the tactileness, right, of it. Like you just don't get it with streaming or anything. You're touching your phone for everything, and I'm like, well, I like to pick up these laser disc and handle them a little bit, or my vinyl record. Like vinyl records, we don't talk about that, but that's come back, right? Like vinyl records are selling more than CDs these days.
I don't remember who put it this way, but I heard it somewhat recently, just out there in the pop culture sphere, and they kind of attribute it to a little bit of maybe why the NFT craze never really took off, and maybe why these whole, even though these video game companies do make a lot off of like skins and DLC, loot boxes and stuff like that. Like I feel like you're only ever gonna get humans so excited about something that's not real, right? There is a special thing about like literally touching atoms, like like owning like an atom, like a physical encapsulation of like a real object. is like, it doesn't matter how advanced the future becomes, like that's always going to have something special to it. And yeah, you can just attribute that to just anything from your childhood, right?
And it's always something like, I buy a lot of old video games and stuff like this, right? It's probably just player, like I will spend like, I will look online and I'll see something on eBay for like $5 cheaper, $10 cheaper. But if I can touch it and take it home that day, I'm going to spend that extra bit of money because I already have it, right? There's no waiting. There's no guessing. I know what it is. I've seen it myself. So I'll pay that little premium to literally have it in my hands and take it home with me that way. But to bring that back around to this point, this Laserdisc player, the reason I bought it, it actually has an A/B switcher internally, so the laser will turn around for you, so you don't have to swap the sides if you don't want to, which I think is
which is crazy to me too, because you're saying there's a mechanism inside of this Laserdisc player that kind of rotates the laser to the other side of the disc.
Yeah. Yep.
I would imagine if Laserdisc stuck around in popularity, even just for like an extra like financial quarter, like an engineer would have been like, let's just put 2 lasers in it and take out the motor. But they never quite got around to that, it seems like.
Yeah. And I'm sure that, hell, there might be, Mike. I don't know. I don't know too much about lasers. I didn't have experience growing up or like any access to them. Like even in our schools, we didn't have these things. A lot of people are like, oh, we watch Laserdiscs in schools. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I never had a Laserdisc in school. So for me, I'm very excited to play with this and put it up. I have I think I have an area where I'm going to put it up on the TV and watch it on like the old tube TV. And I've talked about maybe putting it in front of my or on my projector, even like making it part of my AVR experience, right? So I've got some hopes and dreams for it, but I'm very, very excited to snag this. So thank you for bringing that up this week along the way.
You are welcome.
But I'm going to go the other way. So, Mike, normally you have a lot more things to list here than I do, but I think our first topic is going to be that thing. But I had the opportunity yesterday to go watch a matinee of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Mike, and I texted you from it because what did I send you yesterday? I forget what it was. There's all the crazy like Ghostbusters merchandise out there is wild to me. Like all the different theaters have different popcorn buckets. Oh, I know what it was. It was the AMC popcorn bucket, the trap. That's what I sent you the video. I couldn't even send Mike a photo of it. It was so cool. I had to send him a video of it because it has wheels.
It doesn't even look like a popcorn bucket. The crazy thing is, like, if you detach it from being a popcorn bucket, right, and you just put it in a nice box and put it inside of like a comic book shop, you could probably sell that thing for twice the price just as like, a collectible for the movie. But like, it's weird. It almost like artificially lowers in price once you turn it into a popcorn bucket.
Right. Yeah. So the popcorn bucket on this one's interesting because the trap door opens up and it's got LEDs, but you set a purple, it's kind of like a box on top of it on the lights, and it's kind of snaps in on its own to hold the popcorn. But if you take it off, like it's literally just a toy trap for this thing with a bunch of knobs and stuff. A lot of the knobs and twisties rotate themselves, Mike. They're not like plastic molded to it, which is I thought was really cool. There's the wheels that very freely roll this thing back and forth. So it's pretty cool. I'm probably gonna take the popcorn piece and like put it up because I'm like you mentioned, it doesn't look as cool with the popcorn piece on it. It just kind of loses that value.
Or
so cool.
It would be kind of cool if you put the popcorn piece on it and then maybe find some like prop popcorn, if you will, like some fake popcorn that you can put in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could put real popcorn in there. It's not like that. I mean, it's not going to mold or anything.
Yeah. Well, what if I use it? So we have a bunch of prepackaged microwave popcorn that we keep here. Maybe I could throw all those in there and people can like grab them from the trap.
Oh, yeah. That's not a bad idea.
Because those are packaged and it'd be just like a big candy bucket, if you will, for popcorn. So that might be something I look into. But right now it's sitting on the shelf pretty snug in there. It was pretty cool. But I got to go see Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And as we always say, the best thing to us about Ghostbusters, Mike, is Ecto Cooler, which they did not release for this, which is a huge missed opportunity for both Ghostbusters. I think the new ones have not had Ecto Cooler.
Big bummer, but that does kind of set the stage of where we're at. Yeah. Like weirdly enough, like we grew up with Ghostbusters, but we don't really have nostalgia for it. I don't know, like maybe I feel like sometimes it comes down to like the parents, like how often maybe they wanted to rewatch it, or maybe like mine just didn't happen to pick up the VHS when it was on
What was
sale
on
or something,
TV
but
when you got those free
yeah.
HBO weekends occasionally.
Yeah.
So
It's like I watched it sometimes, but yeah, we don't really have a lot of embedded nostalgia for the Ghostbusters, which hence probably why you went to a matinee on a Saturday instead of like a Thursday night show.
Yeah, and that was something I was like, I'm like, there's nothing in Ghostbusters to me which could be spoiled, if I'm going to be completely honest. I feel like, it's a comedy movie at its core. It's not a horror film. It is kind of, this is the fourth film in this franchise, fifth overall with the soft reboot. But like, we're not precious. We don't have a strong feeling, yes or no, to Ghostbusters. And the fact that it's out is good. Did you watch Afterlife? I can't remember if you've seen the last.
Yeah, I watched it on a plane,
Yeah.
so I only have plane memories of
okay,
it, which is kind of difficult.
Fleeting, literally and
Yes.
figuratively. So Ghostbusters Frozen Empire picks up after Afterlife in New York City. And what is I mean, I'm not gonna spoil anything here, but you've seen the trailers. There's a big scary ghost that controls essentially ice in New York, and then that's the whole point of this. I will say some great things about Frozen Empire. It brings a lot of the original cast back in doses, which is great to see. The still alive returning cast. We get to go back to the firehouse that we've come to know from the Ghostbusters original movies. You don't think Ghostbusters without the firehouse, right? In the Ecto one, which is really cool. I will also give them huge kudos for the ghosts are not CGI ghosts. They actually did the props and the lightings and then imposed them over the movie, Mike. So like when you see Slimer, nice. It's not like we CGI'd Slimer. It's like a Slimer puppet that they put in there.
That's cool. I like that.
That was really cool. Some of the things I will say I don't enjoy, there are too many characters. Like some of the Afterlife characters came from, what were they, in Colorado or whatever state they were in the last one?
Yeah, like the middle of nowhere, kind of like farm ranch.
Yeah, so they came to New York, and I'm like, you don't really need to be here other than just being in the movie. Like the character Podcast is back, and then the girl love interest is there. And what I really would say, when I think of Ghostbusters, and I think what this movie would need for me, the next one to really enhance the Ghostbusters experiences, this has like a main villain, and it doesn't really have like a bunch of the side ghosts that the original movie had, right? Like, you remember, like, they had the library ghost, they had, for lack of a better term, the blowjob ghost, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, there's all these little bitty ghosts throughout, and like those little quote unquote plumber jobs, essentially plumbers, right, for ghosts. Like, hey, we got a ghost, call the Ghostbusters, they'll come over. This movie really needed that, and I hope that that there will be a next one. I don't want the Ghostbusters franchise to die. I think it's fantastic. Paul Rudd, fantastic in this movie, Mike, absolutely killing it in everything he does. But the next one needs to be like, I want a bunch of little ghost adventures where they're actually busting ghosts rather than like, hey, we have one big bad guy and that's all we're focusing on. Because to me, the comedy, the situational comedy, is set with those individual ghosts when they're trying to capture them, right? Like the silliness, the goofiness, like this is very surreal. We're very scientific. The ghosts are, kind of, they may be scary. They may be gross and nasty like Slimer. They may be, again, the blowjob ghost, for lack of a better terms. Like there's just silly things that they could have done. And I really hope the next one embraces that, because this one is just like, hey, another big bad into the world ghost, right? And that's not always the case, if you will. And I would say that's probably like a what I would also, when we talk about Marvel movies or DC movies, it always doesn't have to be the end of the world, right? It can be smaller and still have a good time. So I think Frozen Empire is a great movie. If you like Ghostbusters, you're gonna love it. You're gonna have a good time. If you're like maybe us, like on Ghostbusters, you can probably go to a matinee or maybe wait till it hits streaming. But I don't think it's a bad movie at all, Mike. I just again, I have no feelings either way, if I could lay it out here. Like I think it's for Ghostbusters fans, good for you. If you're like, I don't know, you can probably wait and still be happy if you even watched it on an airplane, Mike, another time along the way. So any questions about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire? Other than there's no Ecto Cooler, which is sad.
I'll stay tuned for the next time I'm on an airplane,
Yeah.
and hopefully it's not a Boeing that falls out of the sky.
Yeah,
thus
Jesus,
becoming
God,
my ghostly graveyard.
yes, right. Man, that is how timely of you. How dare you? But yeah, absolutely. So let's shift some gears. Let's get into something we both watched, and I didn't get to watch this the day of. Yeah, I had a very busy, unexpected week, but we were able to watch both episodes of X-Men 97 in our house, Mike. And I assume you were the same way over this past week.
Yeah, and if you happen to maybe watch any other impressions out there, I believe critics got a view at the first 3 episodes. Yeah. So everyone will kind of all be caught up and everyone will be on the same page come Wednesday this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are 2 episodes in, just like the rest of the people out there in the world.
Mm-hmm. Now, I watched this, my wife and I watched this together, and I don't believe she has ever seen an X-Men 94 episode. Did you watch it by yourself, or did your wife also?
No, this is actually great. You're bringing up exactly something I wanted to talk about. No, my wife was the same way. She didn't really have any nostalgia for retro 94 X-Men. She's always liked the X-Men in general.
Yeah,
for sure,
she's dressed up as Rogue before, even. I mean, I know she's cosplayed as them before.
Yeah, but the gender line divide, I think back in our day was, 90s, a little bit stronger than it was today. So like mostly boys watching X-Men 97, girls watching something else. I believe those lines have faded, thankfully, a lot more.
Oh, absolutely.
Now.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, you first, man.
No, I was just gonna say, this is a good barometer. I mean, we're gonna talk about what we thought about the first 2 episodes. It kind of passed with flying colors with my wife, which was surprising.
Yes,
because it was a Wednesday night. We're getting close to turning in for the night, and I'm just like, oh, there's like 2 X-Men episodes. I really want to watch at least one of them before like I wake up, and the nerd media cycle starts running, with it on Thursday. So I was like, oh, let's just like watch one X-Men before we go to bed, and we had already watched a bunch of other stuff. So she's like, oh, okay, yeah. So I throw it on, and surprisingly, she was pretty into it. And then when we watched the second episode the next day, I was like, oh, can I, you cool if I watch the second episode? She's just like, yeah. And she like wanted to watch it. Like the second episode kind of ends on like a cliffhanger. And she was just like, oh, we were talking about who we think, the extra Jean Grey is and everything. And she's even asked me like a couple of different days, like, when does X-Men come back? Like, what day of the week is that? And I was just like, I was like, are you blowing my mind? This is the last thing I thought you would have sunk your teeth into.
Yeah.
Because there's so much there's more going on here than I think people would think when it comes like with the layers of like history and nostalgia and what the show's trying to recapture. And just for somebody to just come in totally fresh with not much perspective on it and just be able to get into it, that is a really, really good sign for the success of the show moving forward.
You are mirroring my experience as well with this. This is X-Men 97. This is essentially the 5th season of X-Men 94, if you will, right? The original.
Yeah.
Or maybe 6. I forget how many seasons. I think it had 5 seasons, so 6 seasons. So it is unapologetically picking up immediately where the last one ended at this time. And my wife, even if she has maybe seen some X-Men 94 in passing, because I've had it on my local server, I don't think she'd seek it out. It starts up, you kind of get the to meet the team, but thankfully with the live action movies over the last 20 years, Mike, anyone who has touched anything superhero would like kind of pick up on what they are, right? Like we know who Jean Grey is. They beat her to death. Cyclops, same thing. Wolverine, we all get it. Everybody knows it. And just kind of coming back into it, like I was like, ooh, this is fun. The animations, it's new, but like it's not that far from what my memory would hold of the 94, right? Like if I was like, oh, if I could think back on it, what it would look like, it looks exactly like this. It starts with some pretty high concept stuff with the anti-mutant league or whatever they call themselves,
the dudes in berets.
Yeah, pretty much. They look like beret or Mega Men with their little arm cannons sometimes.
Yeah.
And hopping in there, and it's action, and the characters are there, and they're I wouldn't say attitudes, but like their personalities kind of bleed through pretty quick. So absolutely. And then also, we didn't watch the same one the next day. There was like a day break, and my wife was like, when are we going to watch that next one? Is there more? I'm like, yeah, we can watch it whenever, so we watched it last night. And then I think after, she's like, when does that next one come on again? I'm like, they're Wednesdays going forward. So
it's crazy. It's not something I would have expected. And the show, is almost executing on every level perfectly exactly what I would want. Like what you were saying, you're talking about, oh, this looks like how I imagined it when I was a kid. But if you compare them side by side, it's like night and day. But like that's the trick. You don't want to make it look exactly like it did back in the 90s. You want it to look like how you thought it looked back in the 90s. So, obviously it's widescreen. They're even using like 3D animation. There's like there's like a action sequence in the second episode, and they probably did this in the first one, but I didn't really pick up on it as much. But in the second episode, when they're kind of like storming that government building, like you can see that the characters that are fighting, they're like 3D models that are animated, but they're doing a really good job making them look flat when they're put into action.
In credit scene is the 3D pivots of all the characters.
Yeah, which is really cool. Yeah, and that's just like a nice little like seasoning to add on the end when they really, I mean, they could have just cut right to the credits and nobody would have been like upset about it.
They didn't have to do that, but that's very 90s though, right? Like I remember when they would just play the same thing over the end, but I'm like, oh, this looks good. This looks real good.
Yeah. And all of the kind of dialogue is like pitch perfect for what they would kind of do back in the 90s. Like the characters kind of maybe they talk a little weird and stilted, but it's almost kind of on purpose. They speak in like these big, like kind of cheesy platitudes.
They're like it's like soliloquies. Like they are doing, like they are talking above everybody kind of thing, but like at the same time the message resonates downward. If you will.
And it's just like nobody in the real world ever talks like that, but like it just all like it's all harmonizing and kind of feeling like everything's like a little campy, a little cheesy, but then like they are really tuning up, I think, some of the like choreography, like in the first scene of the first episode where they're raiding that base.
Oh,
Cyclops storms in and uses his fucking blaster to slide himself across the room. I didn't pick up on it at first, but he does it like two or three times.
Dodges with it, like he's using it as like a force blast backwards for himself.
And that is so cool. So, and that, like, I feel like a lot of that comes down just to the talent of the storyboard artists on the show of just thinking like, okay, we have a fight that we want to go on here. What cool stuff can I do? And that's what happens when you give a lot of really talented people like time to really craft something fun. You can think of these fun things. And then like, this is one thing too. Like if you're only super familiar with like the X-Men primarily from the live action movies, which are still really, really good. Yeah. I mean, like Cyclops is a big wet blanket, like almost like not a lot of redeeming qualities. They literally kill him in the second movie, and we don't really look back on him.
Third movie.
Is it the third movie?
Yeah,
I thought he died at the end of the second one.
No. The third one starts off where he goes to get Jean out of the water, and she nukes him. That's why he's not. In the third movie.
He pretty much only is in two movies.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like a wet blanket, and he's really just supposed to like antagonize Wolverine, the star of the show. But like in the animated movies, like Cyclops is always supposed to be the hero and the leader, but he's just kind of like a goober. Like he's just kind of been an annoying Boy Scout.
He's too self-righteous. He's too self-righteous. He's like, everything I do has to be for the good of everyone else and not myself kind of deal. Yeah. But I would also say,
and it's just
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say like every other thing Cyclops says, I'm just like laughing at how corny it is because it's so perfect.
but he says it with such conviction. You're like, yeah, he believes it. He believes what he's saying. Like you can't fault him, right? Like it's, the voice actors are nailing this whole thing. Because like my wife even pointed out that she was like, they really like to say to me my X-Men like a lot. Like they literally love to say that phrase so many times in these first two episodes. But I would say, and also in like I was going to talk about action scenes. The first episode when the plane blows up and they have to fight. We talked about the Sentinel fight before, but like the when they blows up and Cyclops like lands himself with an optic blast because he uses that to like land on the ground. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. Like I never would have thought we would have seen that like in a show.
Yeah, he's like, hey, don't worry, I got this. This kind of was annoying to me, but I get it. They're coming from the perspective of they're probably onboarding a lot of new audience. There is some just like straight a straight plot dumping
Yeah.
from people of saying like, "Oh, I'm Storm and I can control the weather," and you know, they're really just talking out loud.
Right.
But when you wrap it in kind of like this nostalgia's like '90s rapper, it still kind of fits anyway. There's like a small little moment that I actually thought was really clever, where when Storm comes in with that Sentinel fight at the end, like one of them says like, Omega level threat detected, and it's just like a nice reminder of just like, oh yeah, I forgot like Storm is like way more powerful than most of the people on the X-Men
like literally all the Sentinels stop fighting and they're like, oh, we got to focus on her because, you know, these guys are nothing compared to that. But yeah, it's fun to see the action. You want to talk about nostalgia blanket, Mike? That intro, they've recreated the intro.
Oh, I loved it. I for some reason, I never thought before we started watching the show, oh, what are they going to do with the intro? Like, what are they going to do? And then when it started playing, I got really nervous for a second. I was like, oh, I totally forgot that they have to remake an intro. And then like, oh, they almost just did it shot for shot, and it's amazing. I love it.
Well, and then the second episode, obviously you guys have seen this, Magneto comes in, so they add a Magneto section in the next episode. So like they're changing the intro based on the episodes a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is solid. Like, and that skip credit or skip intro button came up. I'm like, who the fuck would skip this intro?
What psychopath is doing this?
I skipped on the second episode. I skipped the last on X-Men because we just watched it, and I was like, I don't need that. And then the intro came up. I'm like, oh, we're not skipping the intro. We'll skip that recap, but we're not skipping this thing because it's just so good, so really good. One of the cool characters I thought has been was kind of under the radar before if you watch X-Men 94, but has really taken a really cool turn in this is Morph. And so how he is actually turning into other mutants is just fire. Like he turned into Archangel when the plane blew up to catch was it Wolverine, I think. He, instead of turning into like, you know, a bird or something, he uses the X-Men as who he's turning into. And then when they're fighting the anti-mutant team in the second episode, he's Lady Deathstrike, he's Psylocke.
Morph is gonna give me a freaking heart attack because like I am just on the edge of my seat waiting for cameos because this is living in the streaming animated space. So Marvel's not really, I mean, they're way less locked down live action wise than they used to be because now they seem to be able to access almost all of their characters now. But back in the day, you know, it was the animated world was the only place you could see all this crossover. And then like Lady Deathstrike pops in. I was like, holy crap, I haven't seen Lady Deathstrike in decades. And it's in that iconic, like, I don't even know how to describe
she got the
bandana.
She's got the bandana on and her long claws. Kind of like a Japanese warrior kind of outfit.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like a robe vest type of thing. And I was like, holy crap, Lady Deathstrike out of nowhere. And then like, oh, it's Morph. Okay. So this is kind of a fun way of maybe if they have like a more obscure X-Men character, but maybe they don't really have any stories planned for them because they already got a lot going on. Morph can be our way to kind of like, hey, remember this random character. So I did enjoy that a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think he was in the first episode, I think he was also Xavier for a little bit.
Yeah, he was Xavier for like a fun comedy beat. He was Sabretooth at the end of the second episode?
He was Jean and then Sabretooth, I think, right? At some point. So yeah, absolutely. He's and then he opens the door at the end of the second episode when the second Jean shows up, so you know it's not him as Jean, right? They kind of help you notice that a little bit.
My wife is convinced it's Mystique, which would make a lot of sense. Mystique is a pretty iconic X-Men character, but you know, why would Mystique be at the mansion door in the form of Jean exactly? I love the idea, even though Jean was shown in the Jeep on the way to the hospital, right? She was shown using her telekinesis, so more than likely it actually was Jean. I love the idea of Scott Summers accidentally having a baby with Mystique. That would be wild. That would be some intense storytelling.
I mean, I could probably. I've read the comic books, and right, all these X-Men shows are nothing new. They're taking things from the comic books, and I have a pretty good idea who it is. And I don't know if you want to know or if you want to wait, Mike. If you want to,
No, I feel like we're gonna find out on Wednesday, so I'd rather be surprised.
that's fine. You'll find out because they've also teased this character model before and they've done it in the story, so it's fine. It's gonna be great. It doesn't matter what stories they tell going forward. It's really cool. I really enjoyed. So Sunspot is a new character in this. If no one's familiar with Sunspot, he was actually in, not the Age of Apocalypse, Days of Future Past movie for a little bit. But his little black bubbles, the Kirby dots, when he fires up his power. Love seeing that animation in this a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because we
And
wouldn't have got that back in the 90s.
Yeah, because that's something you can't really easily do in 2D animation. But yeah, they're doing a really good job leveraging what they have. I know it's a losing fight. I can't fight the battle of keeping 2D animation like literally 2D for the rest of my life. You know, the 3D Pandora box is just too affordable. It's too convenient. It's too... And I do get benefits from it. Like they can probably crank through some of these episodes faster if they can, leverage
the models.
some 3D models.
Yep.
But I'm just glad that they're really taking care when they use them of just like make it look as 2D as much as possible, as long as you can. But sometimes every once in a while, like a plane or a spaceship or a character does like a camera rotation. It's just like, oh, okay, I can see.
Yeah, you can see the lighting off the
apologies
cells.
now. Yeah.
It's absolutely. I'm thrilled. This is a knockout of the park. I believe when it launched, Rotten Tomatoes score was 100% from critics.
Who wouldn't like this? Who couldn't recommend this?
I don't know. I'm gonna pull it up right now because like if someone's probably got to be a contrarian and be like, well, obviously it's not. No, still sitting at 100%. And right now. Yeah, 45 reviews, 100%, Mike, 92% audience score. So you can. This is just a knockout of the park. This isn't necessarily representative of Marvel as a whole, but this is just quality, and thank God we've got quality. Coming out of
couple this with the double-headed wife approval, which that's got to say something at the broader market space, right? We're not going to be the only nerds out there that are putting this on and then their spouses come into the room and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some conclusions we can draw from this, but this is a good sign because if you look at just X-Men 97 on the whole, a very like niche kind of project, right? Obviously there's a lot of like fan base that has grown up with it and has demanded more, but like eventually something has to be a bit of a crossover hit for it to continue further into the future. Like, yeah, I could see them making 1 or 2 seasons, out of something that not a lot of people were into, but you have some crossover appeal here. I would love to see the return of the 90s animated Spider-Man. I would die if I could see that intro again with that iconic guitar riff.
I believe that was Aerosmith. The Aerosmith guitarist wrote that.
Yeah, it was some rock guitarist was definitely involved.
I think it was Aerosmith, the guitarist from Aerosmith, absolutely.
Yeah. And then we could even get some crossover because these cartoons did crossover in the past. I don't know if they could bring back maybe the Fantastic Four or Iron Man possibly. That would be rad.
They had the 90s. I mean, I remember the Punisher cameoed in the original X-Men 94. You get Daredevil, you get the little characters, right? Like, they love using Daredevil right now and everything. So you bring Charlie Cox in to voice Daredevil on here for a little bit. There's just so many characters, and for the Marvel thing, we can bring them in. However, the X-Men cast is in the books is thousands, right? Hundreds, if not thousands, of characters they can bring in. I would love to see it. We got to see the Morlocks in episode 2, a smaller subsidy of characters,
which was wild. I wasn't expecting to see them.
Yeah, we got to see Leech for a little bit. It just feels so good and feels so at home to watch this show, Mike, and that's a big victory, I think, in my books. Whether or not we've talked about this, the showrunner or writer / showrunner was let go or departed from the show 2 weeks ago. Obviously, it wasn't for quality because this is just like you mentioned, firing on all cylinders. So I want to see 3 seasons of this. I want to see more of X-Men 97. Oh yeah. So
I just ran over to eBay to look up some X-Men 94 animation cells. There's some pretty cool ones over there. I mean, for the really cool ones, you have to cough up quite a bit of money. But for the low price of $12, you could just get a background panel of a door, a curtain, and a window. No characters in it at all, but you could buy a character and put it on top of it.
Now tell me, while you're there, because we talked about physical media at the start of the show, how much are VHSs of X-Men 94 on there?
Oh God, VHS. Let's find out. Let's see here. Series VHS.
Because that's something I would one or two tapes I'd probably get.
Okay, so the first thing that pops up is a VHS lot of volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 9.
Okay.
And there's 5 bids. There's still a day left, so that doesn't really have a buy it now price. But if we just wanted to look at one as a whole, let's see.
Give us a ballpark.
Hasbro Pulse Marvel Legends series X-Men Jubilee
toy.
90s animated series. Oh, that is a toy.
Yeah.
There's a lot to put. There's a lot of. Okay, here we go. Solid number. Buy it now price. Complete 90s VHS collection of $300.
$300.
Or is that the figures? See, this is the problem. They made these figures.
Yeah.
Okay, these are actually VHSs that I'm looking at. I'm confirming now there are no toys hidden inside these boxes. You can get a lot that has 9 of them for $180.
I see. I just did a quick Google on Etsy, which I don't trust. Vintage X-Men the Animated Series 1 through 4 factory sealed, $800.
Oh, man, so, these boxes, these box arts for these VHSs are really awesome. Like
they look like
kind
comic
of
book
like
covers.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like if they turned the animated show into a comic book, how would they interpret the art as a comic? Like these VHS covers, it would just be cool to own the boxes.
Well, have you seen the side art where they do the profile shot and all the different colors and the character names on them? Those look pretty good, but
man, I'm loving this box. So there's one with called X-Men Deadly Reunion.
Oh yeah,
just Jean Grey with Cyclops' blast Rogue coming out.
Yeah,
and this is sick. This would be an awesome.
This is going to be something the 94. I think you see these when you go to Comic Cons and they have those little bootleg booths.
Oh yeah,
they're probably going to drive the price up of some of these. But
see, this is I gotta get that VHS combo Winnie the Pooh TV. Throw in some of these X-Men. Oh man.
I know we could split it, Mike, and do like split custody on the X-Men VHSs.
Just blow our retirement on shipping this thing across the country.
Yeah. Well, we've had worse ideas in our group chat. So, but I think overall, out of 4 people I can count, I've talked to, Mike. Well, at least you, your wife, me, my wife. This is thumbs up all around for X-Men 97.
Yes.
So, absolutely recommend it highly from all of us. So check that out on Disney Plus. With your subscription. You can also watch X-Men 94, the original X-Men series, on Disney Plus. It pops up at the end when you're done. So if you hadn't seen those and you want to go back, you have the opportunity to do so. But boy, don't get your hopes up that it's going to look anything like this when you're through. Let's hop into the biggest trailer park we've had in a long time on this show.
Yes. Quite a few.
We have 6 trailers in a row, and we're going to start with, in the same vein of this, Marvel 1943, The Rise of Hydra. Now, this game title is a little vague, being called Marvel 1943, but it kind of gives me maybe an idea that there's going to be more games in this line, this franchise, if you will, if this takes off. But this is the EA game that stars both Captain America and a Black Panther in the 1940s, World War II era. Yeah. So,
do we have any confirmation if the Black Panther is T'Chaka or
Azzuri?
Maybe
it's T'Chaka's father, Azzuri. Yes.
Okay, grandfather of T'Challa. Okay.
Yes. So he's in there. We also have another like an Okoye character. I forget her name, Navala, I believe it is, and then another one, Gabe, who is a Howling Commando with Captain America in this. And what's cool about the story trailer is it sounds like there is a Red Skull in France, and the Black Panther and Captain America are both trying to take down this Hydra infestation in France, but they're not on the same side yet from this trailer, right? Like this is a Godzilla versus King Kong situation where they're gonna punch for a bit, then they're friends.
I would imagine they have ideological maybe rules of war differences. It seems like maybe Cap is taking the position of more honorable, where he was like, "There's 2 super soldiers in France, including me, and that's like too many," or something like that.
He's like, yeah, there's 3, and that's too many according to him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it seems like maybe the Black Panther is maybe mercilessly like trying to complete their goal, which kind of almost aligns with a little bit of T'Challa that we saw in Civil War, where he was ready to do whatever it took to get revenge.
Very
but kind
single-minded.
came around.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of the dynamic between the 2 characters. But I was watching this trailer just before we recorded, because I hadn't seen it yet. Absolutely gorgeous. The fidelity of these graphics, like. Once you get to the late stage of these generation of consoles and the developers like really have learned how to like dial in the hardware inside of these machines, I mean, this looks astoundingly good. Like, wow.
And what did I tell you, Mike, right after you watched it? That this is rendered in game. This isn't pre-rendered cutscenes. This is live rendering from these games. So like if you were playing the console, it's not like, oh, we made these scenes like remember old Final Fantasy, right? You'd watch a video. So this is not a video. This is like they are actually rendering it live. So I assume much like Spider-Man 2 or a game like that, where if you change the costume or you change something, it would render that live in this cutscene. So to be that good on the fly is fantastic.
They didn't show any gameplay, but there was a brief shot where the camera is kind of over the shoulder of one of the characters. So I don't know if this has been said, if it's going to be first person or third person.
It wouldn't make sense to be first person, right? Neither of these guys are shooters at this point. Cap may have a gun, but like we saw, there was a cutscene where he threw his shield, and it looks like that's kind of what it's going to be, like a third person brawler with some gear, whatever gear you happen to have on that character.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been really craving some stealth gameplay recently. Like, I am chomping at the bit for that Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater remake to come out, so I can kind of get back into my stealth boots. But it seems like if you're kind of varying up the gameplay between Cap and Black Panther, it seems like Black Panther is going to be the stealth mover that of course can like throw down as well, and Cap's going to be the more like well, I'm sure there's stealth. All warfare probably requires a little bit of stealth.
They're going to be a little tankier, but you know, I don't imagine the Black Panther having a gun in certain situations, and I definitely think Cap would have a gun in certain situations. Especially because there's 4 characters. They say you get to play as all 4 characters at some point. So, and I guess with the ancillary non-super soldier characters, there's probably going to be some scenes where you gotta maybe shoot your way out or brawl your way out of some places. But I was impressed. I actually, you know, we've talked about this a couple of weeks ago, right? A very sketchy game company when it comes to anything that's not sports. So we were like not really sure what was going to happen with their games, but boy, this feels pretty good. And it feels like a good story first game. It's not selling microtransactions, right? It's not selling multiplayer. So that is a huge win in my book. And this is the second game set in France, by the way, with Blade announced. Remember, it was also set in France.
Yeah, that's right. And you mentioned with the title being like when it reveals at the end, it says Marvel, huge letters like 1943, as if like this is the title of the game. It's called 1943. It's not, you know, anything else like that's. But then The Rise of Hydra comes up as the subtitle. Makes me think, oh, maybe they'll be like Marvel 1974, you know, some other moniker, and we kind of travel through time, you know, with some older maybe Marvel characters. That would be kind of
absolutely. Like if they wanted to do, you know, these type of Marvel games, like if they're like, hey, we need to modernize it. Maybe it's Marvel 2023 or something like that, right? Like, hey, they've moved forward. We've got, you know, Captain America. He's been frozen. He's thawed out. And then we have the new Black Panther, and they have a little more new technology. They could implement that if they wanted to along the way. Or they do kind of like, I don't know if you remember those old airplane games where it was like a side scroller and you're just shooting upwards. Like they were called like 1942, 1943, 1944. So like they could do Marvel 1944, and then maybe it's not Hydra, maybe it's something else, right? Like they, you know, or, you know, I like your idea of the Cold War, like a Winter Soldier, like a Winter Soldier game. In like the 70s or something. That'd be pretty cool. Where you have like a Winter Soldier and like maybe a Nick Fury is the hero side, the Winter Soldier is the bad side kind of deal.
So, yeah, that'd be cool.
I Absolutely. So this is awesome. The trailer's in our show notes. Check it out. Let us know what you think. I'm really excited to see gameplay. It looks like it's coming out next year, so they've got a little bit of time to do that. But we'll keep you guys posted if anything comes out. Another trailer that dropped this week this is for a show, not a game. It is The Acolyte, Star Wars. The Acolyte, the series set in the High Republic. And Mike, if I was to ask you, when is the High Republic? Do you remember this one? I think you might remember it.
The High Republic is, I imagine these eras of if like how old Yoda is.
Yeah.
I'm like, there could be Yoda, but that's going to be about the only character that I believe would still be alive, right?
Yeah. I think there was like maybe one or two more, but yeah, very, very few main characters, if you will. Yoda's the main character.
A young Yoda. In
younger.
This one.
Yeah, younger years. So the High Republic was several hundred years, 100, 150, 200 years, maybe up to 400 years before the Phantom Menace. So this series is set in the later half of this. I believe it's reported, this might be rumored, it's about 50-ish years before the Phantom Menace. So we're getting closer to the newer stuff, but not enough where we're gonna see, Mace Windu's not gonna show up, right? Not Chancellor Palpatine isn't gonna be here. So we're in a nice place, and we get to see some of the other Jedi that we haven't really got to experience through this trailer. So we get to see what appears to be not necessarily a Sith, but like an assassin trying to take out Carrie-Anne Moss's Jedi Force-using character. And then later on, we see a red lightsaber, and then we see a bunch of other color lightsabers, Mike, which I know is your big thing. I love seeing lightsaber colors, and I don't know how you feel about it, but
yes, this
is kind of saying the downfall of the High Republic. Not a lot of story beats here, just a lot of action scenes and a little bit of Jedi-ness, but it does seem to be a part of where right before the Jedi got too smug and were taken down from the inside on the Sith. So what do you think of this? I'm curious on your thoughts on this trailer, the teaser, if you will.
Yeah, it's got to be the direction they go. I feel like I have to be cautious about what I say about new Star Wars shows because I was like, Andor, that's going to be a hot pile of garbage. And no, it was actually amazing. So maybe they could carve out a little bit here. I'd still, no matter what, whether it's good or not, I always get that prequelitis, right? Of just I kind of know where this leads, right? Yeah. I know the Jedi don't reign supreme forever. And then it gets into this weird future where the Empire falls, but then comes back. And then there's a dude called General Hux, and he's a weirdo for a little while, Yeah. So it's no matter how cool anything gets, I know eventually it gets to a point where I hate it and it's stupid. So I don't know how you solve that problem. I guess you just have to make a good movie with Rey next, so I can just forget about all of those movies that happened that she was in. But there's a chance here to make some cool stuff. I like leading into the idea of maybe what the politics are like when the Jedi are kind of on high, right? You brought up the point smug. Is that what happens? We've only ever really got to experience Jedi as the good guys who are at their best kind of on the back foot of trying to push back against this growing empire. But what happens when they have no problems, right? Everything's been running smoothly. Maybe they don't quite want to go to the dark side, but I'm sure an asshole could just be a Jedi, right? It's not just because you're a Jedi, you're a nice guy.
So when I read the High Republic novel, the first one of the three that came out, what I noticed was very similarly to the start of the Phantom Menace, right? The Jedi they're not warriors. They're not generals in a battlefield. They're peacekeepers, right? They're sent as envoys to, discuss on behalf of different people, not necessarily the Republic. So the initial scene where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were sent as envoys, right, to the Trade Federation, very early on in the Phantom Menace. So a lot of it's that, and a lot of interesting things about the Jedi back then. They were just exploring light travel, light year travel. It was very, very young at that point, so they're exploring different parts of the universe that hadn't been out there. But a lot of the Jedi were allowed the ability to not be so restricted in what they were able to do. They had different abilities, the Force abilities were able to kind of flow freely. They weren't looking for humanoid people who could force push and force pull, right? They were hey, you can commune with animals a little bit. The stuff that we kind of were teased more recently in Star Wars, but it was very free flowing back then. They were very like, yeah, just whatever you feel, like kind of run with that. One of the characters in this from the book, she actually has a lightsaber that turns into a light whip, and I am very excited to see this in action. Because the one thing I love seeing the lightsabers, but Mike, what have I always said about the lightsabers in modern Star Wars? They look like light sticks. Like I have a lightsaber on my wall. If I just lit it up and filmed it, that's what it would look like. I want to see Baylan Skoll's lightsaber, right? Where it feels like a burst of energy is coming from a handle. I don't want it to be like, hey, we lit up some glow sticks and we filmed it, because those are now lightsabers. So hopefully they can nail it out. But I was excited to see, you know, the Jedi, not necessarily generals, but like the yellow lightsaber ones who are like less warriors and more like, hey, we're just like keepers of the peace kind of thing. We're not fighting. We're more, I would say, ambiguous, if you will. But like to see those different colors is interesting to me. I'm excited. I have no ill will towards this. I would love to see it and kind of let it prove itself to me, knowing that this is a teaser. We don't have any story beats, right? We just kind of see some quick characters, some quick action, and that's really about it. So I'm hoping for this. This is coming out June 5th, I believe. I think we reported that a while back. So this will be coming up here this summer, Mike, to watch on Disney Plus. For that. Anything else on that? Anything else? I mean, I was kind of hoping we get Skeleton Crew first, if I'm going to be completely honest. But I'm thinking maybe at Star Wars Celebration this year, which I think is in Japan, on May the 4th, we will probably get a Skeleton Crew trailer and release date as well, knowing that Andor was pushed back a year. So, last bit of Star Wars news before we swap, Mike. The Phantom Menace tickets are on sale. I don't know if you we talked about that a couple weeks ago. The 25th anniversary, I believe, of the movie is coming out in theaters. Is it 25th? Yeah, damn, it is. And the day after that, on May the 4th, I believe, they're actually doing one of those all-day every Star Wars movie in theaters, like all the the Skywalker saga, 9 films. I was telling someone the other day when we did Iron Man 1, 2, 3 and Avengers in a row, and how it wasn't horrible, but I cannot sit in a theater for 4 movies ever again. After that, I don't know.
I can imagine the global attention span of the moviegoers out there have not gotten any stronger since then. So good luck to those fans.
What an emotional roller coaster that would be to watch them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a theater, Mike. Like, you get to see literally the rise and fall of the Star Wars saga all in one go. So, or you can stream them on Disney Plus. That's an option too. Moving on into the most wannabe Star Wars movie ever known to man, Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scargiver trailer has debuted. So this is the new trailer showing off the second part of Zack Snyder's film. It's a story/teaser trailer. The story is, hey, that guy at the bad guy, the first one, didn't really die, so now he's going to come attack the village. So the villagers have to learn how to fight. Do you like slow motion? Because boy, do we have more slow motion for you.
Well, also too, like, you can piece the entire movie together with the shots from this, right? And since nobody in their right mind could possibly be waiting for, midnight whenever Part 2 drops, from what I'm seeing, the bad guy comes, they fight. There's explicit lines in the trailer of just like, I won't let all of these people die for me, and then cut to the Scargiver inside of their spaceship, fighting the bad guy. It's starting to go down. Things are blowing up. She's on her own. I'm sure there'll be some sort of like dramatic, like, oh, we fake out where we think she's dead, but no, she's still alive.
Anyone cannot die in this movie. They die and then they come back. They've already proven that in the first one. So,
like we said with the first one, if you've seen any of these like iconic science fiction movies in the last 30 years, like they all are doing it better than Snyder's doing it. So
one of the things I will call out, the action scenes from this. There's 2 parallel action scenes. One's with the main girl Scargiver, one with the bad guy, where it's essentially a them versus the army kind of shot, right? And they go through a hallway or a tunnel, and it's very choreographed. Like almost too choreographed, right? Like, that person's not going to die or get hurt. So it's very gratuitous and like, oh, this person's a badass, see what they can do. But like, I never really felt like they were in danger that whole scene. So that's really, I mean, I hate to say this movie is disappointing beforehand, but like those scenes, seeing how calculated they are is not enticing for me. It doesn't give me the draw that I need to watch it. Despite how cool it is, it's not very for me.
Could you believe that the robot rises up and fights alongside of them? Who could have saw that coming?
That is probably the most thing I'm excited for. I'll just be transparent. The robot we were promised and teased with Anthony Hopkins' voice getting to fight the army, I think is going to be the coolest thing, because I think he will be the most brutal of all of them, probably, because it's a robot killing humans. It's not. It'll
be a Deus Ex Machina situation where, the line will be pressed, all hope is lost, but then the robot finally stops becoming an observer, fights back, and then they'll hold him off for a little bit, but then there'll be this dramatic slow-mo where like the bullets start pumping through. You could see nuts and bolts flying, like shrapnel going everywhere.
So is Dragon Ball Z when Android 16 is.
Yeah, the head falls to the ground, and then since there's like 18 lights on this thing's face, you'll just see them all slowly dim, and then somebody will be like sad, but then that'll be when all hope is lost. Where does that part happen in the 3-act structure, Chris? Like at the end of the second act, right?
Yeah, like I would say, like, and then that's when you find out that the Scargiver got into the ship in the sky and blew it up. So like it kicks off the 3rd act by like, all hope's lost here, but the ship blew up, so now we're reinvigorated to fight.
We're just if you're not subscribed to Netflix, we're just saving you the subscription right now and telling you how it
absolutely it's a very tropey. The first one's very tropey. This feels just as tropey. So if you're into that kind of thing, cool. Not knocking it. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. But this trailer has not really sold me on the uniqueness of it after we were burned on the first one, if you will. I will be tuning in. It's in April. We're like less than a month away. Again, if you have Netflix, it's a free watch, free movie, might as well. But if this was in theaters, this is Barbie money. That's what we talked about the other day.
Number one grosser of all time, apparently.
Where's Barbie Part 2? Where is it, Mike? We don't have it yet, but Rebel Moon did. That's how popular it was. They still right in the churn. But and then I believe we talked about this the other week, but the Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2 director's cut will come at the same time, probably later this year, when Netflix subscriptions are getting low and they need some money. So we'll keep you guys posted. Trailer in the show notes. Moving on, Furiosa, the new trailer for the upcoming Mad Max Fury Road prequel. So this focuses on obviously the character Furiosa, who goes on to be a main part in Mad Max Fury Road, played by Anya Taylor-Joy this time. Her, essentially stolen from the green place, and then how does she become the Furiosa we know? Chris Hemsworth just chewing scenery as a villain in this trailer. There's sand, there's chrome, there's cars, there's fire. Mike, what else do we need? I don't know what else to say about this. I'm excited. The last one was great. Fury Road was fantastic. I have no reason to doubt this one at the end of the day.
Yeah, I talked about it on the show like months ago when I rewatched it, and I was like, God, Fury Road is such an amazing, perfect movie. So you gotta hope even if you get like a tenth of that, you're still gonna be doing better than some sort of random high budget action movie that's streaming on Netflix. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I second the Chris Hemsworth just really digging into a new character that's not Thor. It's nice to kind of see him channeling something. I don't know what it is, but I love it.
Well, he's channeling. I mean, it's just like a little insane, but like he's just like unhinged, but kind of funny. He's got like that, what was it, prosthetic nose on, I think is what it is he's wearing. Really, really doing that. Again, George Miller is a lot like James Cameron. You can't sleep on what he's doing because you never know how good it's going to be, right? Like he's done all the Mad Max movies. He was a writer of Babe and Babe 2, Happy Feet 1 and 2. He's just out there, doing what he wants to do. So absolutely love it. Really, to watch this. This is one of those we talk about occasionally, Mike. This is a popcorn movie for me, right? we're gonna go sit in the theater and get that full theater experience while not caring a thing about it in the world, because I don't have full Mad Max feelings. It's like Ghostbusters. Like, this is another movie from the 80s that's coming back, by the way, another franchise like Ghostbusters. I have no Mad Max affinity, so I can just enjoy this and not really worry if it messes anything up along the way.
This is May. This is sooner than I thought it would be. Great. Yeah. I can watch this before the kid kid arrives.
There you go.
At the end of the summer, so I can actually see this one.
Yeah, awesome. A fun fact: my brother has a girl cat. Her name is Furiosa. She was named after Furiosa and Fury Road years ago. So, fun little fact there. Another franchise from the 70s, 80s, Mike, that's coming back yet again is Alien, and we got a trailer for Fede Alvarez's upcoming Alien movie, which is set in between Alien and Aliens, and focuses on a colony of people, kids, mostly like young people, traveling through space, and how are they deal with an alien. And this isn't a story. This is more of a teaser trailer, right? If you could, take a look at it. But someone pointed out, I think listener show Patrick, he was like, what is really cool about this teaser is that the ship feels like a character in this trailer. Like, because you see the cuts, you see the aliens, you see the scream and the horror and the body horror, but like the ship, like there's some lingering shots of just like hallways in the ship. So you're like, ooh, the ship is like gonna have its own personality, like not real personality, but like it's part of the movie, right? Because it's hiding the aliens and being there. So which is cool.
Yeah, I believe the crew, at least when I read the synopsis on IMDb, I believe the crew is supposed to be maybe scavengers, is how they're described, but I have high expectations, and I hope it pays off for this, because Ridley Scott has really kind of crapped the bed on the last couple Alien movies, and I really like Alien and Aliens, and I even like Alien 3. And if I can reach the part in my brain where I kind of like turn it off just to have fun, the Alien vs. Predator movies are fun. Like, I just think xenomorphs are really, really cool.
Yep.
Very unique design. Nowhere else in Hollywood have they really kind of captured the terror of this kind of creature set loose out in the world.
Yeah.
So since this isn't a Ridley Scott movie, obviously he's attached to it. It's his franchise.
Right.
But it's a different director. We're going to have like a totally, like, hopefully different take on it, or a return maybe, since it's taking, I didn't know it took place between Alien and Aliens until you just told me now. So that's pretty cool too. You don't have to deal with like,
legacy or anything story related.
Or
you
like
can just do it.
Or like the big time jumps that happen between like 2 and 3, and also like, or you go back in the past, and now like, you have like the what do they call them, like the engineers and stuff.
Yeah. You don't have to get anywhere. You're just doing your own thing.
Back to basics. I don't know what Romulus means. Maybe that's the name of the ship, but I think that's cool. Like, Romulus is just a cool sounding word. So the cool factor is really great here. And I'm hoping that at least maybe when the studio greenlit the project, or the creative development team that was working on it, I'm sure they couldn't ignore the popularity of the recent Alien video games, which are straight survival horror. Like,
so this
you are stuck on a ship.
This was originally supposed to be a Hulu, straight to Hulu release, like Predator was, or Prey. Remember the So after the quality of this and the success of Prey, they were like, you know what? Maybe we underestimated these alien focused franchises a little bit. So it's coming out to 20th Century Studios. Fede Alvarez, he's known for his horror films. Right, Evil Dead, Don't Breathe. Was it The Girl in the Spider's Web, which I think is one of those those Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies kind of thing. So like he comes from a horror background, and they're really kind of pushing this movie a little bit. And I'm excited. The Alien movies is great. So one of the things, some of the crew members from Aliens are coming back to work on this movie as well, Mike, to help with the production. I just found out.
I was gonna say, there's one shot of the xenomorph at the end of this trailer where you see the, I guess, tongue, for lack of a more accurate term, comes out of the mouth.
His little head.
Even though
his little mouth.
Yeah, even though it only happens for a couple frames, it feels like a physical prop that's shooting at the camera. So
absolutely. Awesome. So I'm excited about this. The success of Prey has me, jazzed about these movies. So we'll see what that is.
Trey's getting a sequel, I believe, from the same director.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know if it's a sequel, but I think it's in the same universe. Maybe I don't know if it's a direct sequel, but they're doing more of those Predator movies like that. So absolutely love it. So Alien Romulus here in the trailer in the show notes. The last trailer we have is for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. I'm gonna refer to it as Beetlejuice 2 because I don't want to keep saying that a bunch of times. But it's a legacy sequel, so this is another 80s movie coming back, Mike. Boy, are you sensing the trend today? So Tim Burton has returned to direct. Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. A lot of the original cast. Lydia Dietz, played by, oh my gosh, I can't think of her name. She's in the mom in Stranger Things. And then her mom again. Do what?
Winona
Ryder, and then her, so like they're coming in. So this movie also introduces Jenna Ortega as the daughter of Lydia Dietz. I think her name's Astrid Dietz, and they're all coming back to this town due to Lydia's father passing away. So you have 3 generations of Dietzes. From the trailer, it looks like we find the miniature of the town upstairs, and then a very much older Beetlejuice / Michael Keaton appears to wreak havoc, if you will, in this film.
Me personally, I saw the original Beetlejuice, I think at a slightly too young of an age where, there's like, it's not a scary movie, but like there's some stuff in there that like, if you're like too young, it's going to kind of freak you out and you're not really going to appreciate, some of the more like
comedy
indie
bits,
kind of comedy vibe, even though like indies weren't really a thing back then.
Comedy,
but it's like kind of oddball, off the kind of typical beaten path maybe for movies coming out. Like what's an analogous what's a comp to Beetlejuice back then, right? Not a whole lot happening in the similar
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, which we just talked about at the top of the show, not really having a lot. So I have seen Beetlejuice, but I couldn't really tell you what the plot of the movie was. I couldn't tell you the main driving force for any of the characters. I know Michael Keaton plays a guy named Beetlejuice. Some people in this house occasionally, I don't know if they're going to another dimension. I don't know if they're going to hell or purgatory, but there's like people there with like weird puppet heads. I don't really know anything about it.
Okay, so
this trailer, at least to me, like, so I can't really speak to if anyone should be excited for Beetlejuice because I don't have any affinity for the original movie. But this is an awful trailer because it is so wrought with every trope nostalgia that we've seen from every reboot trailer ever. Like there's like the slowed down dramatic version of like kind of the classic song that appears. There's those like crane dolly shots into like old objects we haven't seen in a while. And even I know it, and I haven't even seen the movie in like decades. There's the dramatic shot where they pull the dusty... I kept thinking of Ghostbusters Afterlife on this trailer, where it's totally the same vibes. And then at the very end, you reveal, the character you haven't seen in so long, which, this is Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton, and Ghostbusters. It was the Ecto-1 when, they pull it off. So... I'm sure that's got the marketing creeps all over it. They're just like trying to fit puzzle pieces.
They're like, what worked for
Ghostbusters? The trailer might not be indicative of
they're like, what worked for Ghostbusters? Well, let's do the same thing, right? Like literally, it's like revisiting the nostalgia. And this is a teaser trailer, so hopefully. I don't know what the story is, but I remember the original one is that the original homeowners, it was Gina Davis and Baldwin, the main Baldwin, Alec Baldwin, where they lived in this house, they died in an accident, and they were sent back to the house to haunt it, really, right? But they weren't like trying to, be too scary. Lydia is into the occult, works with them. She accidentally summons Beetlejuice, who is like a poltergeist, and is like, if you marry me, that's he wanted to marry her so he could get some sort of powers or something. I don't know what it was. So it was just really, again, it was a comedy, but it was like a dark, weird comedy. It's Tim Burton-esque, right? Or early Tim Burton before he went to boy, I'm really bad on names. Wizard of Oz. No, that wasn't Wizard of Oz. He did Alice in Wonderland stuff. But so it's cool. So like, why do we need to revisit this 30 plus years later?
Wonderland.
Do what? well, I mean, it's we don't need to revisit this 30 years later, right? Like, it's interesting. It's got some big names in it, you know. Winona Ryder and Jenna Ortega are huge right now, so that's cool. But like, I want to know more about this and what's going on. It's fun to see it. I will say, you know, it's I grew up on the Beetlejuice cartoon. Did you ever watch that one growing up? The animated series?
I remember the intro. I remember the animated intro, but I think at the time I probably didn't have the right cable package to watch it because I don't remember watching it.
Yeah, I think I think it was on Cartoon Network or something, and I remember because it was very like Beetlejuice could turn into things, and like it was nothing to do with the TV show. It was very wacky, like Freakazoid era, like Cartoon Network, if you will.
Oh yeah.
So I remember watching all of that. So I don't have the affinity for the movie, but I do have the affinity for the cartoon show. So I'm hoping that this is, you know, at least quality. But you are, you know, touching on kind of what this is all safety nets on the trailer, right? Like, do you remember this? Do you remember this? Do you remember that song and these characters and everything? So we don't know what the story is yet, but hopefully it can pull it out, you know, along the way. But we'll see as we kind of get through that. But you can check out that trailer in our show notes as well. And that ends.
Beetlejuice aired on.
Huh?
I was gonna say Beetlejuice aired on the ABC network.
Really?
I'm just looking it up right now. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. It must have heard me talking. It had 4 seasons. Wow, look at that. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is
wow.
This is wild.
The episode count here is crazy. Season 1, 13 episodes. Season 2, 8. Season 3, 8. Season 4, 65 episodes.
Well, are you on Wikipedia?
Wow,
do you notice it had 4 directors for season 4? 4.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, like literally season 4. No, 5. 5 different directors across season 4. So it's just wild. But I remember watching this. I don't know if maybe it eventually went over to Cartoon Network, or maybe it was like when I was watching ABC when they had like Buzz Lightyear of Star Command and like stuff like that on. Yeah, you guys, if you haven't seen that, go take a look at it. This is wild. I can't believe this came out in 89. Mike, this is when this debuted. Animated was 1989. Wow. So yeah, check that out. But that ends it for the trailer park, Mike. That is it. We're gonna stay in the spooky season, if you will.
Yeah, can I name the last 3 subjects that we have here?
Oh, absolutely.
It kind of feels like we're opening the junk drawer a little bit.
Yeah.
Where like sometimes you're finding exactly what you're looking for. Sometimes like, oh, how long has this been in here?
Yeah.
I think this battery's dead, but I don't know. So this is like the junk drawer section, and maybe we'll continue this going. I'm gonna incept you, Chris, of whenever you do the show notes, try to imagine what could go into the junk drawer, and we'll brand the segment, and we'll see if anybody wants to sponsor the junk drawer of the show.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and we'll go through them, because the first one is it was kind of tied to this. This was originally the last subject before these last 2 kind of popped up here on the weekend. But they're calling it, Mike, the Poohniverse, if you will, and holy shit, what a horrible name. Is Poohniverse Monsters Assemble, which is the twisted childhood universe from Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey creators. So if you're not familiar with this Razzie award-winning movie, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, where they took Winnie the Pooh one season, they copyright-free zone and made them serial killers. The sequel is coming out, I think pretty soon. But they're also going to be combining Winnie the Pooh, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Bambi, Mad Hatter, Sleeping Beauty, Tinkerbell, and many more fairy tale copyright people into this twisted, gross childhood universe, Mike. And I don't even know what to do with this. Like I have no interest in the first one, let alone the rest of them.
And you can't really stop this. You can't stop it from happening. Yeah, it's just okay. I mean, is this enough to get me to watch it? That's the question I have here. When I saw the stunt of the original Winnie the Pooh kind of slasher fest coming out, I was like, I don't need to watch this. Then I heard the reviews of like, oh, this isn't even fun for gimmick's sake. And now they're just going to crank it to 11. Is this enough to reach a threshold of watchability in any sense? I don't know. But this kind of feels like something that like I'd rather watch a YouTube essay about, right? Somebody gathers the clips and I just kind of sit down for like a 14-minute like deep dive and then I'm out. That I feel like that's what I'm looking for here. And then that way they don't get any money either.
Well, I'm trying to figure out myself here, how much did the movie cost to make? And they made $5 million worldwide. Is that, did they make a bunch of money on accident? And that's what we're not seeing? Like, is it really the financials?
Maybe, or it was enough for them to get an outside investor of like, hey, like we were able to turn, 5 million into, 20 million. You want to get on this boat, throw a couple million, we can kind of flip it and turn it out into something else.
Yeah.
I mean, with the first one, it's easy. You just got to throw the costume, like the Spirit Halloween store Winnie the Pooh costume on somebody, and then you just make a bad slasher movie. Seems like this one's going to take a little bit more articulation, a little bit more planning, and can they pull it off? We'll see.
I think I always think there's an opportunity for B and C level films out in the marketplace. It's just, this is a weird one to get into for my sake. I think original things are great, but like, do you need to have the twisted childhood universe? It's just a very, very weird name and concept to me, but what can you do, Mike? What can you do? We'll jump into the next two topics here. DC related. Joker Folie Deux will be a jukebox musical featuring iterations on 15 well-known songs. So be prepared to having the sing-along versions of this Joker 2 movie that people will be coming to sing to. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm curious if they'll lean into or out of that when it comes to the marketing, because I'm just comparing it to the last musical to come out this year, which was Mean Girls, and everyone talked about like, oh, people went and saw this movie and they didn't know it was supposed to be a musical. So I would think you lean into it or people are going to be very confused. This seems to be embracing that DC strategy of throw popular songs into it, but maybe make it on purpose this time and not slap it on in post-production. This is the part of the junk drawer where you're just like, oh, I found this. Oh, this could be useful. Let me see if let me see if this piece of gum still tastes good. It's been back here for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm down for this. Like, I'll still watch it. It's nice to get the confirmation though that it's a musical.
You don't get Lady Gaga without having some songs in it, Mike, right? Like she's a world-known singer. She's won, I believe, Grammys even. What was it that one movie she did, A Star Is Born? Was that it? Something like that. They'll probably have some original songs in here too, but like, Todd Phillips didn't have to make Joker 2, but if he's gonna make it, he's gonna do what he wants to do, and obviously he wants to make it a quote-unquote jukebox musical. And we saw some set photos a couple weeks, maybe months ago. We talked about like there's that big fake moon in the background on that it looks like it's on a set, right, kind of thing. So maybe these songs are just part of the head, like part of it in their head and stuff like that. Diegetic film or music kind of stuff. Yeah.
You bring up a good point with Lady Gaga in the movie singing. So I did a crucial Google for everyone out there, and the simple search terms are, can Joaquin Phoenix sing? Because I don't know. And the response was indeed yes. In fact, he played Johnny Cash in the movie Walk the Line and used his own voice. He also learned to play guitar from scratch as well. So, according to Google automated results from Quora, Joaquin Phoenix can indeed sing. So maybe this is going to be a smash musical masterpiece.
Yes. Along with this and Wicked Part 1 coming out later this year as well. It's a musical fall for everybody who wants to.
What are the Vegas odds if because was it Alfred that was technically in the first Joker movie on the other side of the Wayne Manor gate, or was it like a security guard? I don't really remember.
I don't remember either. I couldn't tell you.
But there is a at least greater than 0% chance that Alfred could have a musical number in this movie. I'm not saying it could happen or it will happen, but it could happen, right? He exists in this universe. Apparently there is a young Bruce Wayne attached to it.
He did.
Alfred could sing.
He did. Actor Douglas Hodge was Alfred. He was a middle-aged man on the other side of the fence. So absolutely. So
Douglas Hodge. All right. Now Now I gotta Google
Can Douglas Hodge
can Douglas can Douglas Hodge sing, and then this will be our okay. Just to be clear, there is nothing frilly, coy, or effeminate about Douglas Hodge, this British singer and songwriter who won a Tony in 2010 for his portrayal of Albin, the white. Is this the same guy? I don't know if this is the same guy or not, or if it just happens to be, because that would be like if you have a British singer-songwriter playing Alfred, how do you not have him sing? But to be clear, I do not think this is the same person.
That's fine. We'll know later this year. This isn't something we're going to solve today. With that, but at least we now know for the Joker. So yeah, I'm excited to see the replays when they do the sing-along versions, Mike. That's what I want to see at the end of the day. Moving on, the last bit here is Suicide Squad Isekai. This is a Japanese word, and I'm probably butchering the hell out of it. Isekai. So WB Discovery Japan is making a Suicide Squad anime. Cool. They do a lot of animated DC projects, tapping into anime. One of the most popular forms of animation right now. Not surprising at the end of the day. But Warner Brothers Discovery Japan is looking to increase their anime output. They have some studios that are doing a bunch of work for themselves and other people, and they're looking to increase their own output, including more DC properties and new IP. So if we end up seeing maybe some more Warner Brothers anime, different things, in the next few years, I wouldn't be surprised. Is there any DC character you would love to see in anime fashion? Mike, it would be the question I had for this.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen a lot of the Batman adjacent characters because Batman has kind of been to this medium before.
Batman Ninja, which was popular several years ago as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of curious. The only thing I can really pull out of this news story, this beef jerky in the junk drawer of segments here, is Cartoon Network was shut down, at least their physical offices out here in the Valley, and they were absorbed into Warner Brothers Animation as far as I last checked. So I'm kind of curious what the overall strategy is for all of the animators, working for Warner Brothers right now. I mean, animation stuff, takes a while. It's a long tail, so this could be like a legacy project. But yeah, this overall, I'm just kind of curious what they're going to.
This is Warner Brothers. This is WB Discovery Japan, by the way. This is not the American branch. Like, this is specifically the Japan branch, not necessarily the American branch doing the anime. So I can't say anything to that. But if the Japan branch wants to do it, they dub it, or they would probably dub it coming over here. I think that's what they're doing. Suicide Squad. They don't have to. They could sub it if they really wanted to.
It makes me wonder if it's actually like a branch though, or if it's just like they, like all animation seems to do. They ship it, to another country to make it.
No, this came out from the head of the Japan person. This is not like Warner Brothers. So this is out of Japan. So I believe that it's like their own thing, and I think they're also doing anime for other studios over there as well, like in Japan, which is cool.
Yeah. There's always a Marvel anime project that creeps out of nowhere for a weird reason. Yeah. So that's probably the same type of situation.
Yeah, I would love to see, if I was going to say Green Lanterns, like an anime Green Lantern thing, because with all the different like they're aliens, right? Like I would love to see the anime designs for aliens and like the Green Lantern powers, because like rather than creating CG models in like a live action Green Lantern, like you could do whatever you wanted in anime, and I think it would look fantastic at the end of the day, if I was to pick one other than Suicide Squad, because we don't get a lot of that. I think Green Lanterns are left to the side, and they're one of my favorite characters in DC.
Yeah. Well, if I felt like I had to bring this podcast full circle, Chris, I would say nothing is cooler than whatever shade of blue they're using on Beast from X-Men 97. I love that incarnation of Beast, and seeing him on the screen again, it was just absolutely delightful.
So, fun fact, there is a Marvel anime for X-Men that came out in 2011. And
I remember. I feel like we talked about that at some. Were we doing this podcast in 2011?
No. We were both still in school, sadly. But I actually own that on DVD. I bought all the animes when they came out back then. I was getting them shipped over. I'm trying to see if they had it, because they had a specific Wolverine one, and then also they carried it over to X-Men.
At some point in time, in the near past that was on Netflix because I watched at least one episode on Netflix, if I remember. So I doubt it's there anymore.
Beast was in that, and that's when he looked like a cat man. He had the cat because I was like I remember this. I remember because you're talking about Blue. I'm gonna send you a photo of it. Because it is very anime. Like when again, Japan, they lean into the weird stuff, and I absolutely
they love the cat stuff, and this is the bluest cat man I ain't never seen.
Oh yeah, so sending you a couple photos of the cat man. I
love it.
But yeah, so hopefully we'll see some more DC anime stuff. I think it's great. They do great work. But that as you mentioned, that is it for the show. That is it for this week. If people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, buddy, where can they find you at?
Well, if they want to find me closing the junk drawer on this on the end of this episode, they can find my webcomics at liferewardsrisk.com or pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, Valdan, or Video Game Systems with the same name, always doing stuff on there. If people know about the show where they can find new episodes or watch us on YouTube live as we're doing right now, like and subscribe us, because if I say those words, the little button glows. Where can they get all that good information at?
Yeah, all you got to do is head on over to superheroslate.com. You might have to VPN to it if you are from the mutant country of Genosha. I don't know if they get the full internet over there or not. Superheroslate.com. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to find podcasts. And you got to hit up the website to check out our show notes because we talked about a lot of trailers here. So these links will be really helpful for you. So you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. What did you think of X-Men 97? I know Superfan Jim out there was excited for us to talk about it on the show this week. So let us know what you thought about X-Men 97. Did your spouse who didn't watch the show grow up also like it as well? Let's get a spouse count.
We need numbers. We need stats on this.
Yes, we need spouse stats. And if you are a fan of the show and you want to be a super fan of the show, if you want to gravitate, if you are just a lowly mutant, but you want to gravitate to X-Men, it's the same type of strategy here. You just got to share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
That's right. We will see you guys next week.